In the frozen wasteland of the future, there is no mercy, only survival. Across distant worlds and cold steel corridors, warriors clash in a struggle that shapes the fate of empires. Witness a game of elite operatives, giant robotic tags, and endless mind games. It's more than just firepower. It's about who can see the next move. Every decision is a risk. Every encounter is life or death. And in a snowstorm of bullets, tactics are your only shelter.
Oh, man down, get a medic over here. Infinity is one of the best games you'll ever play. Even though it is a little complex, within that complexity is an insane amount of depth and fun. In this video, I'm going to show you every single reason why Infinity continually blows my mind every single time I play. Now, to a lot of people, lore is an incredibly important component to a good tabletop game. And thankfully, Infinity has some of the best lore in miniature gaming. Now, we could turn this video into story hour and I could go through this book word for word and tell you what the history of Infinity is, but that's really boring. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this trailer I found from the 1980s called Infinity, which I think summarizes the lore much better than I ever could. It's kind of old, so you're gonna have to forgive the quality, but I promise it's still really good.
In the year 2180, Earth has been colonized by interstellar wargames. The human race is divided into its major nations. Pan-Oceania leads all nations and influences one of the most powerful, richest factions of the human sphere. Yujing, the ancient giant, the entirety of the Far East units under a single banner, equipped with state-of-the-art weaponry. The lost colony of mankind, Ariadna, a technologically stunted people, some of the toughest battle-hardened humans in the galaxy. Nomads, a people without a planet, fierce advocates of individual freedom and technological strength. But all must come together to face the looming threat of the combined army. A collective of alien races forced to submit to a godlike alien machine called the Evolved Intelligence, who has now set its sights on the human sphere to bring under its galactic heel. Coming to theaters this December. Can humanity end this galactic battle and victory, or the war waged forever into infinity?
Rated R.
Now, Infinity uses an action point system where each character generates its own order, and on your turn, you're free to use those orders on whatever unit you want to activate. Now, you'll only activate one unit on your turn, unlike some of those other miniature games where you're left sort of just sitting there, watching your opponent push around endless waves of monochromatic plastic, while you decide to take your precious time to do other things, like household chores. Is it my turn yet?
No, I've got about 50 more units to move.
What about now?
No, I'm measuring for range now.
Okay, it's gotta be my turn now.
Yo, I'm going for abilities now.
But even if your opponent's only activating one model, you don't have time to do things like take out the trash. Because at any point during your opponent's turn when they're taking their actions, you can react to every single action in a system Infinity calls ARO. So every single turn, you are fully engaged in this game through its reactive system. You know, now instead of twiddling my thumbs and watching my opponent play his entire army, I'm actively looking to see if I should spring my hidden troop out and blow their friggin' face off with a rocket, or if I should bring my sniper out of cover and punish that fool who thinks he can just run right across the open battlefield. Many games try to make you feel like you're a commander on the battlefield, sort of leading troops and charging into the fray, but few actually accomplish this feat. Infinity captures the action-packed spirit beautifully and delivers a game where it just always feels like it's your turn. There are moments in this game when the damn thing feels like I'm playing it in real time, which is one hell of a feat and a hell of a lot of fun. Now, I should caution you that this game is not for the faint of heart. You will be absolutely drowning in keywords and special rules exceptions if you're a first-time player. But as much as that might frighten you as a new tabletop gamer, it is exactly what excites me. On any given turn, I don't want to just decide where I want to move or who I want to shoot. I want to decide if this character should use his holographic projector or if that character should turn into a damn werewolf. Infinity provides depth within its complexity and the abilities of its characters, as rules heavy as they may seem, leaving you feeling like you're swimming in the ocean instead of just splashing around in a puddle. because it's his character's abilities that make you feel simultaneously overwhelmed and absolutely excited. I think the best way to convey the characters and their abilities isn't to go through each one and give you a rundown of all the mechanics. No, the absolute best way is to capture the way I felt when I saw them for the first time in a game. It was like opening a present on Christmas Day as a kid.
Mikey, put away your toys. It's time for dinner.
But I don't wanna. Do you see this character here? He can transform from a mechanized robotic killer just absolutely wrecking faces on the battlefield to a super fast robotic kitty. So do you mean to tell me that this guy can pretend to be the enemy team using some sort of weird digital mask, sneak up behind enemy lines just to backstab them? This dude right here is Van fucking Sant, the biggest badass in this game. A true Ariadne American hero. This dude can parachute onto the battlefield whenever he wants to get behind enemy lines and raise some bloody hell. God bless America. And this guy can hack into enemy onboard computers, take control of the enemy units, and make them kill each other with their own damn weapons. And this guy right here is invisible. So at the start of the game, you take a picture of wherever you want him located, and then at any point during the enemy's turn, you can reveal him to ambush the enemy. And well, I mean, you can't see him. I just told you, he's invisible. And I think you get the idea. Infinity is just brimming with these types of characters who feel genuinely unique. Their abilities provide not only an individual identity to each unit, but encourage you to get as creative as possible on the battlefield to properly utilize their strengths in interesting and fun ways. Yes, it can be very overwhelming on any given turn, but you'll never forget that game used a character to super jump over a building the enemy thought it was going to protect him just to blast that fool in the face with a shotgun. These abilities, as complex as they can sometimes be, facilitate an engaging and uniquely fun story that you want to experience time and time again. But now how does combat impact that story you and your friends are attempting to tell on the tabletop? Well, in combat, Infinity employs a 20-sided dice system where you'll roll and then compare your roll to a target number. And if your roll is lower or equal to that number, you'll succeed. You can of course have many different attributes and weapon upgrades that can alter that roll by adding plus or minus 3. But that entire thing is easy to calculate, leading to quick and engaging battles. There is just so much strategy on any given turn in combat. Like, do I take this big behemoth here, plop them down in the middle of a hallway, put them on suppressive fire so that when the enemy comes down this hallway, they get blasted in the face on their turn? Or how about this lonely sniper on a rooftop? Do I keep him prone so he can hide from the enemy during their turn? Or do I stand him up so he can survey the entire battlefield and prohibit enemy advancement across it? Do I risk my medic's life to make him run across this hellscape of a battlefield to revive his fallen comrade? And those risks your troops are taking on the battlefield because of your decisions as a commander, they're very real, with very real consequences. This little character here is not going to take hundreds of bullets to his giant refrigerator-like grimdark chest. No, a single bullet can mortally wound him, which means every single decision you make is of the utmost importance, because you might sacrifice a unit who before now was doing some serious work on the battlefield. It's that high-risk portion of the game, facilitated by the deadly reaction shots of your opponents, that ramp up the tension in Infinity to the highest degree and make every turn feel impactful and exciting. That also means you have to utilize cover efficiently every single turn, throwing down smoke grenades whenever possible, dipping into camouflage, and sometimes even sneaking up just behind your opponent to avoid detection and deliver that fatal stab to the back. And because of the brutal nature of combat in this game, terrain becomes almost crucial, which I love because there are so many miniature games that I play where I wonder why I even bother to spend so much time on this stuff. Infinity makes you afraid to jump out from cover and risk the lives of your soldiers sometimes, and that's a hell of a feeling, especially when it generates stories of heroic sacrifices of a single unit doing its absolute best to turn the tides of battle just before being killed. Every game of Infinity feels like this glorious back and forth struggle between you and your opponent that on one turn can make you feel like you're descending into a room filled with lasers like some spy movie, and the next turn you into a Rambo running across the battlefield just blowing everything up in your path with a machine gun. But what the hell are you even fighting for? Are you just doing your best to wipe out your opponent in yet another derivative tabletop miniature game? Hell no. Infinity isn't about eliminating the enemy army. It's about engaging in important missions that change between plays. One day you're hacking into the enemy computer to locate the whereabouts of important documents, and the next you're attempting to rescue friendly innocent citizens from behind enemy lines. Every game session feels like you're interacting with an entirely new movie or writing a whole new book. The story you tell when you're trying to escort a civilian off the battlefield will be nothing like the story you told of the time when you tried to destroy the enemy's satellites. Hell, if that isn't enough, each mission can have a variety of almost like sub-quests through Infinity's operation deck. The deck is composed of 20 different missions that act as tactical objectives you can accomplish on the battlefield to score additional points to win the war. One might have you trying to eliminate the enemy team's commander, while another will demand you successfully revive one of your fallen comrades. It's through these cards, combined with the overall scenario, that makes Infinity feel like it's telling a very complex and sort of layered story. And that's what Infinity does best. It tells a beautifully engaging and interesting narrative through its objective-based gameplay. The reason we play these games with little toy men is because we want to tell a good story. You're not going to remember that time you took out the last enemy army in an anticlimactic dice roll, but you will remember that time you tried to assassinate the enemy commander, crippling the enemy army just before you hacked into the enemy's giant robot to force him to blow up his own computer terminal to win the day. Infinity has a reputation of being a very complex miniature game, and it's true. For a skirmish game, it has one hell of a learning curve. But it is within that complexity that Infinity draws an insane amount of depth and fun. It's a lengthy but tight rule set that facilitates this giant sandbox of fun and strategy that I look forward to playing every single game night. And if you're interested in miniatures as a way to engage in some competitive tournaments, Infinity is one of the most balanced miniature tabletop games on the market today. Corvus Belli releases their faction win rate at tournaments all the time, and every faction hovers around the 50% win rate, which it's pretty damn impressive. The best way to jump into this leviathan of a game is to get someone to teach you. Don't go buying a bunch of stuff for a game you're not sure you're gonna love as much as myself. You know, I didn't make this video to show you product. Find your local gaming group online and ask its members if they're willing to teach you a game. I promise you, you will find the most wholesome, welcoming community you have ever experienced. So stop listening to me ramble on and go check the damn game out for yourself. Oh, and like and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff, because we do both board games and miniature games here, and I think you're gonna like what we have to offer. Sales pitch over. Bye.